William stood in the kitchen, washing dishes after another quiet dinner. The house felt empty even though Kate was upstairs reading. They had been married for 12 years, but lately something felt different. Kate seemed distant, always busy with work meetings that ran late into the evening. He dried his hands on the dish towel and looked out the window. The neighbor's house was dark except for one window where Mr. was watching television. William, that simple peace. His own home felt like it was hiding secrets he couldn't name. Kate's phone buzzed on the counter where she had left it while going upstairs. William glanced at it without thinking much about it. The screen lit up with a text message from someone named. William frowned. He didn't know any in Kate's circle of friends or work colleagues. The message was short but strange. Same place tomorrow, make sure you're not followed. William felt his stomach drop. What kind of message was that? Why would Kate need to worry about being followed? He stared at the phone, his mind racing with questions he didn't want to ask. He had never been the type of husband to check his wife's phone. They had always trusted each other completely. But this message felt wrong. It felt dangerous. William picked up the phone, his hands shaking slightly. He knew Kate's password because she had given it to him years ago when they first got married. She had said they should have no secrets from each other. He unlocked the phone and opened the message thread with. What he saw made his blood run cold. There were dozens of messages going back several months. They were careful messages, written in a way that could mean many different things. But when William read them together, a pattern emerged. Package delivered safely, had written 3 weeks ago. Client satisfied with the exchange, Kate had replied. Next shipment arrives Thursday. Higher stakes this time, wrote last week. I understand the risks, Kate responded. William sat down heavily on one of the kitchen chairs. His wife was involved in something that sounded illegal. The messages talked about packages, deliveries, clients, and shipments. They mentioned money transfers and careful timing. Most worrying of all, they talked about risks and the need to be careful. He scrolled further back in the conversation. The messages became more personal as he went back in time. You're the only one I can trust with this, had written 2 months ago. I never thought I'd be doing something like this, Kate had replied. We all need money, Kate. Your situation at home isn't getting better. William doesn't need to know. He has enough to worry about. William's hands were shaking as he read that message. What situation at home? What did he have to worry about that Kate hadn't told him? He kept reading, going further back to the beginning of their conversation. I know this is unusual, had written 4 months ago, but I think you're perfect for this job. I don't know anything about this kind of work, Kate had responded. You don't need experience. You just need to be trustworthy and careful. The pay is excellent. How much are we talking about? $5,000 for the first job, more if things go well. $5,000. William tried to remember if Kate had suddenly had extra money 4 months ago. He thought back to that time. She had bought new clothes and had gotten her car repaired without mentioning any financial stress. She had said it was a bonus from work. William realized he had been naive. Kate didn't get bonuses at her job at the insurance company. She was a claims processor, and her salary was steady but not high. There were no performance bonuses in her department. He continued reading the early messages between Kate and... What exactly would I be doing? Kate had asked. Simple deliveries. You pick up packages from one location and deliver them to another. No questions asked. Is it legal? Let's just say it's better if you don't ask too many questions. William felt sick. His wife had gotten involved in something dangerous, and she had been lying to him for months. Every late work meeting, every explanation about overtime, every story about bonus money had been a lie. He heard footsteps upstairs. Kate was moving around in their bedroom. William quickly closed the message thread and put the phone back where he had found it. He stood up and tried to look normal, but his heart was beating so fast he thought she might hear it when she came downstairs. Kate appeared in the kitchen wearing her pajamas. She looked tired but smiled at William. Thanks for doing the dishes, she said, walking over to get her phone. No problem, William managed to say. His voice sounded strange to his own ears, but Kate didn't seem to notice. She checked her phone quickly, and William saw her expression change slightly when she read his message. She typed a quick response. Understood, we'll be there. Everything okay? William asked, trying to sound casual. Just work stuff, Kate said, not looking at him. I might have to work late again tomorrow. Another lie. William nodded and tried to smile. Okay, I'll make sure to save you some dinner. Kate kissed his cheek and went back upstairs. William stood alone in the kitchen, feeling like his world had just collapsed. He had to know more. He had to understand what Kate was involved in and how dangerous it really was. The messages mentioned higher stakes and risks. What if Kate was in danger? What if she was in over her head with dangerous people? William made a decision that would change everything. Tomorrow, when Kate went to her work meeting, he would follow her. He would find out who was and what kind of business they were really conducting. He spent the rest of the evening pretending everything was normal. He watched television with Kate, discussed their plans for the weekend, and talked about ordinary things like groceries and bills. But inside, he was planning. The next morning, Kate got ready for work as usual. She wore a simple black dress and carried a large purse. William noticed she seemed nervous. She checked her phone several times and kept looking out the window. "Have a good day at work," William said, kissing her goodbye. "You too," Kate replied. She hesitated at the door for a moment, as if she wanted to say something else, but then she left. William waited 15 minutes, then got in his car and drove to Kate's office building. He parked across the street where he could see the entrance. Kate's car was in the parking lot, but he was willing to bet she wouldn't be staying there long. At exactly 2:30 in the afternoon, Kate emerged from the building. She looked around carefully before getting in her car. William followed her from a distance, his heart pounding with nervous energy. Kate drove across town to a part of the city William rarely visited. It was an industrial area with warehouses and storage facilities. She pulled into the parking lot of a building that looked abandoned from the outside. William parked a block away and walked closer, staying hidden behind other parked cars. He watched as Kate got out of her car and walked to a side door of the building. She knocked in a specific pattern, 3 short knocks, then 2 long ones. The door opened, and William got his first look at. He was a tall man in his 40s with dark hair and expensive clothes. He looked like a businessman, not a criminal. But William had learned that criminals could look like anyone. Kate and talked quietly for a few minutes. William couldn't hear what they were saying, but he could see that Kate looked nervous. Handed her a small package about the size of a shoebox. Kate put it in her large purse. Then handed her an envelope. Kate opened it and counted what was inside. Even from a distance, William could see it was money, a lot of money. They talked for a few more minutes, then Kate got back in her car. William hurried back to his own car, trying to stay out of sight. He followed Kate to the other side of town. She drove to a fancy neighborhood with large houses behind gated driveways. She stopped at a house that looked like a mansion. Kate got out of her car and walked to the front door. A woman answered and they talked briefly. Kate handed over the package from her purse. The woman gave Kate another envelope. The whole exchange took less than 5 minutes. Kate returned to her car and drove away. William sat in his car, trying to process what he had just witnessed. His wife was definitely involved in some kind of illegal operation. She was moving packages between people and getting paid well for it. But what was in those packages? He thought about the messages he had read. The talk of higher stakes and risks suggested that whatever Kate was transporting was valuable and dangerous. Drugs, stolen goods, money, William didn't know, but he knew it was serious. That evening, Kate came home at her usual time. She seemed relaxed and happy, completely different from the nervous woman William had followed that afternoon. "How was work?" William asked, testing her. "Same as always," Kate lied smoothly. "Processed insurance claims all day, pretty boring stuff." William nodded and said nothing, but inside he was making plans. He had to find out more about and this operation Kate was involved in. He had to understand how deep she was in and whether she was in real danger. Most importantly, he had to figure out how to help her get out of this situation without getting hurt. But first, he needed proof. He needed evidence of what was really happening so that when he confronted Kate, she couldn't deny it or make up more lies. William decided to break into this building. It was a dangerous plan, but he didn't see any other choice. He had to know what his wife had gotten herself into before it was too late to save her. The next few days passed in a blur of planning and worry. William researched the building where he had seen Kate meet. He drove by it several times, studying the security and looking for the best way to get inside. The building was older and didn't seem to have modern security systems. There were no cameras that William could see, and the locks looked like they could be picked with the right tools. William had learned lock-picking as a hobby years ago. He had never imagined he would use those skills to break into a building, but desperate times called for desperate measures. On Friday night, William told Kate he was going out with friends from work. It was a lie, just like all of Kate's lies about working late. He was starting to understand how easy it was to deceive someone who trusted you completely. William drove to the industrial area and parked several blocks away from his building. He walked through the shadows, carrying a small bag with lock-picking tools and a flashlight. The building was dark and seemed empty. William made his way to the side door where Kate had entered earlier in the week. He examined the lock carefully with his flashlight. It was an older lock, the kind he could definitely open with patience and the right technique. William got to work, his hands steady despite his racing heart. After 15 minutes, he heard the satisfying click of the lock opening. William took a deep breath and opened the door slowly. The building was silent and dark. William used his flashlight to navigate through what appeared to be a warehouse space. There were shelves and storage areas, but most of them were empty. At the back of the building, William found an office. The door was locked, but it was a simpler lock than the main entrance. He opened it quickly and stepped inside. The office was small but well organized. There was a desk with a computer, filing cabinets, and a safe in the corner. William started with the desk drawers. In the bottom drawer, he found a collection of files. Each file had a name on it, and William's heart nearly stopped when he saw one labeled Kate. With shaking hands, he opened Kate's file. What he found inside made him understand just how much trouble his wife was really in. The file contained photographs of Kate meeting with and making deliveries. There were copies of bank statements showing large cash deposits. Most disturbing of all, there was a detailed report on Kate's personal life, including information about William, their marriage, their financial situation, and even their daily routines. Someone had been watching Kate and William for months. Someone knew everything about their lives. William flipped through more files. There were at least 20 other people involved in whatever operation was running. Each file contained similar information: photographs, financial records, and personal details. At the bottom of Kate's file was a document that made William's blood run cold. It was a contract of sorts, but not like any legal contract he had ever seen. The document stated that Kate had agreed to transport packages for organization for a period of 1 year. It outlined payment schedules and performance expectations. But most frightening were the clauses about what would happen if Kate tried to leave the organization or if she was caught by law enforcement. The contract made it clear that Kate's safety and William's safety depended on her continued cooperation. There were veiled threats about what would happen to people who betrayed the organization. William realized that Kate wasn't just involved in illegal activities. She was trapped in them. The organization had information that could destroy her life, and they had made it clear that leaving wasn't an option. He photographed every page of Kate's file with his phone. Then he looked through the other files, trying to understand the scope of the operation. From what he could tell, was running a sophisticated courier network. People like Kate transported packages containing what appeared to be high-value items between clients. The couriers were all ordinary people with clean records and normal lives. They were perfect for flying under the radar of law enforcement. But William also found evidence that the organization was involved in much more than simple courier services. There were references to money laundering, fraud, and other serious crimes. As he was finishing with the files, William heard something that made his heart stop. There were voices outside the building. Someone was coming. William quickly closed the files and turned off his flashlight. He moved carefully through the dark office and warehouse, trying to reach the exit before whoever was outside came in. He could hear two men talking as they approached the building. One of them sounded like, "We need to increase security," was saying. "The police are asking too many questions about our operation." "What about the couriers?" the other man asked. "Are any of them becoming problems?" "A few are getting nervous," replied. "Kate seems solid, but I'm keeping an eye on her. Her husband works from home, and that makes surveillance easier." William felt sick. They were watching his house. They were watching him. He reached the exit just as he heard keys jingling outside the main entrance. William slipped out the side door and closed it quietly behind him. He hurried away from the building, staying in the shadows until he reached his car. As he drove home, William's mind was racing. Kate was in serious danger, and now he knew that he was being watched too. The organization had files on both of them, and they were prepared to use threats and violence to keep their couriers in line. But William also had evidence now. The photographs he had taken could help Kate get out of this situation if they were used correctly. The question was how to approach Kate without putting both of them in more danger. When William got home, Kate was already asleep. He lay awake all night, planning his next move. By morning, he had decided what he had to do. He was going to confront Kate with everything he knew. But first, he was going to make copies of all the evidence and hide them in a safe place. If anything happened to him and Kate, someone needed to know the truth about what they had discovered. The next morning, William waited until Kate left for work. Then he drove to a print shop and made copies of all the photographs from files. He put the copies in a safety deposit box at a bank across town. He also wrote a detailed letter explaining everything he had discovered. He sealed the letter in an envelope and gave it to his brother with instructions to open it if anything happened to William and Kate. That evening, William prepared for the most difficult conversation of his marriage. He was going to tell Kate that he knew about her involvement with this organization, and they were going to figure out together how to get her out of it safely. But when Kate came home that night, she had news that changed everything. "I need to tell you something," Kate said as soon as she walked in the door. Her face was pale and she looked frightened. "What is it?" William asked, his heart sinking. "Someone has been asking questions about me at work," Kate said. "Questions about my schedule, my financial situation, my personal life. I think I'm being investigated." William realized that time had run out. Whatever was happening with his organization, it was starting to unravel, and Kate was right in the middle of it. Kate sat down at the kitchen table, her hands trembling as she placed her purse on the counter. William could see the fear in her eyes, and his heart ached knowing what she was going through. But he also knew he had to be careful about how much he revealed about his own discoveries. "Tell me what happened," William said gently, sitting across from her. Kate took a deep breath. "There was a woman at my office today. She said she was from corporate doing routine employee evaluations, but her questions weren't routine at all." William waited, letting Kate tell her story in her own time. "She asked about my work schedule, whether I ever left the office during the day, whether I had any side jobs or additional income sources," Kate continued. "She even asked about you, about our marriage, about our financial situation." "What did you tell her?" William asked. "I told her the truth about most things," Kate said. "But when she asked about additional income, I lied. I told her I occasionally did freelance work from home." Kate looked at William with tears in her eyes. "I've been lying to you, William. For months, I've been lying about everything." This was the moment William had been preparing for, but seeing Kate's pain made it harder than he had expected. He reached across the table and took her hand. "I know," he said quietly. Kate's eyes widened in shock. "You know, how do you know?" William realized he had to be completely honest with Kate if they were going to get through this together. "I saw a message on your phone I followed you to one of your meetings." Kate pulled her hand away and stared at him in disbelief. "You followed me? You spied on me?" "I was worried about you," William said. "The message mentioned not being followed, and I was scared you were in some kind of trouble." "I can't believe you violated my privacy like that," Kate said, but her anger seemed half-hearted. She was too frightened and overwhelmed to sustain real outrage. "I'm sorry," William said, "but I'm glad I did it because now I know how much danger you're in." Kate stared at him for a long moment. "How much do you know?" "I know about the packages, about the money," William said. "I know you've been working as a courier for some kind of criminal organization." Kate put her face in her hands and started crying. "I never meant for any of this to happen. I just needed money." William moved his chair closer to Kate's and put his arm around her. "Tell me everything, from the beginning." Through her tears, Kate began to tell her story. "It started about 5 months ago," she said. "I got laid off from my job at the insurance company. Do you remember when I told you I was working reduced hours?" William nodded. He remembered Kate saying her company was cutting back everyone's schedules temporarily. "That was a lie," Kate continued. I was completely unemployed. I was too ashamed to tell you. You were working so hard to support us, and I felt like such a failure. William felt a wave of sadness wash over him. Kate, why didn't you tell me? We could have figured something out together. I was embarrassed, Kate said, and I was scared. Our savings were running out, and I knew we couldn't survive on just your income. Kate wiped her eyes and continued her story. I was looking for work everywhere, but nothing was paying enough to make up for what I had lost. That's when I met. Where did you meet him? William asked. At a coffee shop near the unemployment office, Kate said. I was sitting there with my laptop, applying for jobs online. He struck up a conversation, said he could tell I was someone who needed work. William felt a chill. Had targeted Kate deliberately, probably watching the unemployment office for desperate people. He seemed so normal, Kate said. Well-dressed, polite, professional. He said he ran a delivery service and needed reliable people to transport packages between clients. What did he tell you about the job? He said it was completely legal, just delivering documents and small packages for business clients who needed discretion, Kate said. He said some clients preferred to use independent couriers instead of regular delivery services for privacy reasons. William could see how Kate had been drawn in, had presented the job as legitimate business, not criminal activity. The pay was incredible, Kate continued. $500 for a simple delivery that took maybe 2 hours. It seemed too good to be true, but I was desperate. When did you realize it wasn't legitimate? William asked. Kate was quiet for a moment. I think I suspected something from the first job, but I didn't want to admit it to myself. The packages were always sealed and made it very clear that I should never look inside them or ask questions about what I was delivering. But you kept doing it anyway. The money was so good, Kate said. And every time I thought about quitting, I remembered how scared I was when I lost my job. I told myself that as long as I didn't know exactly what was in the packages, I wasn't really doing anything wrong. William understood the logic, even if he disagreed with it. Desperation could make people rationalize almost anything. How much money have you made? He asked. About $20,000 over the past 4 months, Kate said. I've been putting it in a separate bank account, saving it so we would have security if something happened to your job, too. $20,000. William thought about all the times Kate had claimed to have bonuses or freelance income. Now he understood where the money had really come from. Kate, I need to tell you something, William said. This organization isn't just running a delivery service. I found evidence that they're involved in money laundering, fraud, and other serious crimes. Kate looked at him in confusion. What kind of evidence? William took a deep breath. I broke into his office. You did what? Kate stared at him in shock. I had to know how deep you were in, William said. I found files on all the couriers, including you. Kate, they have detailed information about our entire lives. They've been watching us. Kate's face went white. What do you mean, watching us? William pulled out his phone and showed Kate some of the photographs he had taken of her file. Kate's hands shook as she looked at pictures of herself making deliveries, copies of bank statements, and detailed notes about her daily routine. Oh my God, Kate whispered. They know everything. There's more, William said gently. I found a contract with your name on it. Kate, this isn't just a job. According to that contract, you're committed to working for them for a full year, and there are penalties for trying to leave early. Kate looked terrified. What kind of penalties? William showed her the photos of the contract clauses that mentioned consequences for betrayal or early termination. Kate read them in silence, her face growing paler with each line. They're threatening us, Kate said finally, both of us. Yes, William said, but now that we know what we're dealing with, we can figure out how to get you out of this safely. Kate shook her head. You don't understand. It's not that simple. Made it very clear what happens to people who try to leave the organization. What do you mean? Kate told William about a conversation she had had with just 2 weeks earlier. Another courier, a woman named Lisa, had tried to quit the organization after her husband found out about her activities. Told me that Lisa had an accident, Kate said. A car accident that left her in the hospital for 3 weeks. He said it was a shame that some people weren't careful enough to avoid accidents. William felt sick. The organization was using violence to keep their couriers in line. But that's not all, Kate continued. After Lisa's accident, her husband lost his job, said it was unfortunate how quickly rumors could spread in certain industries. The message was clear. People who tried to leave faced retaliation against themselves and their families. "Kate, we have to go to the police," William said. "With what evidence?" Kate asked. "Everything I've done is illegal. I'll be arrested along with and his people." "But you're a victim here too," William said. "They targeted you when you were vulnerable and now they're threatening you." Kate shook her head. "The police won't see it that way. I made a choice to take the job, and I made a choice to keep doing it even when I suspected it was illegal. I'm guilty of whatever crimes I helped commit." William realized Kate was probably right. Even if the police believed that she had been coerced into continuing her work, she would still face serious criminal charges for the deliveries she had already made. "So what do we do?" William asked. "I don't know," Kate said. "Maybe I can just keep doing the job until the contract period is over. It's only 8 more months." "Kate, no," William said firmly. "You said yourself that the stakes are getting higher. What if you get caught? What if the packages you're carrying become more dangerous?" Kate looked at him with despair in her eyes. "But what choice do I have? If I try to leave, they'll hurt us. If I keep working, I might get arrested. Either way, our lives are ruined." William stood up and began packing around the kitchen. There had to be a solution. There had to be a way to get Kate out of this situation without destroying their lives. "What if we moved?" William suggested. "Just packed up and left town." "They know too much about us," Kate said. "They have our social security numbers, our financial information, everything. They could find us anywhere." William realized she was right. His organization was too sophisticated to be escaped simply by moving to another city. "What about witness protection?" William suggested. "If you against and his people, the government might protect us." Kate looked at him skeptically. "Do you really think my testimony would be enough to bring down an entire criminal organization? And what if it wasn't? What if some of them escaped and came after us later?" William had to admit that witness protection seemed like a long shot. Kate would need to have evidence of major crimes, and even then, there was no guarantee the government would offer protection to someone who had been an active participant in criminal activities. They sat in silence for several minutes, both of them trying to think of options. Finally, Kate spoke up. "There is one possibility." "What?" "Mention something about the organization having problems with law enforcement," Kate said. "He said they were asking too many questions about the operation." William remembered hearing say something similar when he was hiding in the office building. "What if the police are already investigating them?" Kate continued. "What if we found a way to help the investigation without implicating ourselves?" "How would we do that?" Kate was quiet for a moment, thinking. "What if we provided anonymous tips about its operation, information about the building, the schedule, the other couriers?" William considered this idea, but wouldn't that put the other couriers at risk too? "Maybe," Kate said. "But if the organization is as dangerous as you say, those people are already at risk. At least this way, they might have a chance to get out before things get worse." William thought about the files he had seen. 20 other people were in the same situation as Kate, trapped in an organization that used threats and violence to maintain control. "What about the evidence I collected?" William asked. "The photographs of the files could be useful to law enforcement." Kate nodded. "We could find a way to get that information to the police anonymously." They spent the next hour discussing the details of their plan. William would create a package containing all the evidence he had collected, along with detailed information about its operation. They would mail the package to the police from a location far from their home, making sure there was no way to trace it back to them. Meanwhile, Kate would continue working for as if nothing had changed. This was the most dangerous part of the plan, but they agreed it was necessary to avoid suspicion while the police investigated. "How long do you think it will take?" Kate asked. "I don't know," William admitted. "Police investigations can take months or even years." "I'm scared, William," Kate said. "What if something goes wrong? What if finds out what we're doing?" William took her hands in his. "We'll be careful, and we'll watch out for each other. The first sign of any trouble, and we'll leave town immediately." Kate nodded, but William could see she was still terrified. He was scared too, but he tried not to show it. Kate needed him to be strong and confident. Over the next few days, William and Kate prepared their anonymous package for the police. William included printed copies of all the photographs he had taken, along with detailed notes about the location of office, the schedule of Kate's deliveries, and everything they knew about the organization's operations. Kate contributed information about the other couriers she had met, including names and descriptions. She also provided details about the clients who received packages based on the addresses she had visited. They decided to mail the package to the detective division of the police department, addressed to no one in particular. William drove to a city 2 hours away to mail the package, paying cash and making sure no security cameras captured his face clearly. When he returned home, Kate was waiting anxiously. "It's done," William told her. "Now we wait." "What if the police don't take it seriously?" Kate asked. "They will," William said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "The evidence is too detailed to ignore." That night, Kate had another delivery scheduled. William watched her get ready, trying to hide his anxiety. Every time she left the house now, he wondered if it might be the last time he saw her. "Be careful," he told her as she prepared to leave. "I will," Kate promised, "and William, thank you." "For what?" "For not leaving me," Kate said. "For trying to help me instead of just being angry about the lies." William kissed her gently. "We're going to get through this together." After Kate left, William positioned himself at a window where he could watch the street. He had become paranoid about surveillance, constantly looking for cars that stayed in the neighborhood too long or people who seemed to be watching their house. About an hour after Kate left, William noticed a dark sedan parked at the end of their street. The car hadn't been there when Kate left, and William couldn't see anyone inside it. He watched the car for 20 minutes. It didn't move, and no one got in or out. William was starting to think he was being paranoid when he saw someone in the driver's seat adjust the mirror. Someone was definitely watching their house. William called Kate immediately. "Don't come home," he told her as soon as she answered. "What, why?" "There's a car watching our house. I think people are getting suspicious." Kate was quiet for a moment. "What should I do?" "Go somewhere public," William said. "A mall or a restaurant, somewhere with lots of people. I'll figure out what to do about the surveillance." "William, I'm scared." "I know, me too, but we're going to be okay. Just stay safe and stay public." After hanging up with Kate, William continued watching the sedan. He realized he needed to find out who was in that car and what they were doing. William slipped out the back door of his house and made his way through the backyard of the neighbor behind him. He circled around the block so he could approach the sedan from behind. As he got closer, he could see there was one person in the car, a man in his 30s with dark hair. The man was holding what looked like a camera with a long lens. William took out his phone and carefully photographed the man and the car, including the license plate. Then he retreated back to his house the same way he had come. The surveillance was real. Organization was watching them, which meant they suspected something. William called Kate again. "Don't come home tonight. Check into a hotel under a false name and pay cash." "What about you?" Kate asked. "I'm going to stay here and act normal. If I disappear too, they'll know for sure that something is wrong." "I don't want to leave you alone." "It's safer this way," William insisted. "If they're just watching, I should be fine, but if they see us both acting suspiciously, they might decide to take action." Kate reluctantly agreed to stay away. William spent the night alone in the house, checking the windows periodically. The sedan stayed in position all night. The next morning, the car was gone. William called Kate and told her it was safe to come home. When Kate arrived, she looked exhausted and stressed. "This can't continue," she said. "The pressure is killing me." "I know," William said, "but maybe it won't have to continue much longer." "What do you mean?" William showed Kate the photographs he had taken of the surveillance car. "I'm going to include these with another anonymous tip to the police. If they're already investigating this organization, evidence of witness intimidation might be exactly what they need to take action." Kate looked at the photos thoughtfully. "Do you really think it will help?" "I think it's our best chance," William said. "And Kate, I think we need to have a backup plan ready." "What kind of backup plan?" "If things get too dangerous, we need to be ready to leave immediately," William said. "New identities, cash, everything we need to disappear." Kate stared at him. You're talking about becoming fugitives. I'm talking about survival, William said. If's organization decides we're a threat, we need to be ready to run. The next few weeks were the most stressful of their marriage. Kate continued making deliveries but every job felt like it might be a trap. William continued his normal routine, but he was constantly watching for signs of surveillance. They developed code words and emergency signals. If Kate called and used certain phrases, it meant she was in immediate danger. If William saw anything suspicious around the house, he would text Kate a specific emoji. The strain was enormous. They were both losing sleep and weight. Their conversations became focused entirely on the criminal organization and their plans for escape. But slowly, things began to change. Kate reported that seemed more stressed during their meetings. He was asking more questions about the other couriers and whether anyone had been acting suspiciously. I think the police are definitely investigating, Kate told William after one particularly tense meeting with. What makes you think so? Asked me if I had noticed anyone watching me or following me, Kate said. He also asked if I had talked to anyone about my work. What did you tell him? I told him no, but I said I was getting nervous about the whole thing, Kate said. I figured it was better to admit to some anxiety rather than pretend everything was fine. William agreed. If was suspicious of all the couriers, Kate would seem more suspicious if she appeared completely calm. Then, exactly 3 weeks after they had mailed their first anonymous package to the police, everything changed. Kate came home from a delivery looking shaken. "It's been arrested," she announced as soon as she walked in the door. William felt a surge of relief and terror at the same time. What happened? I went to the office building for today's pickup, but instead of there were police cars everywhere, Kate said. I drove past without stopping, but I could see officers going in and out of the building. Did anyone see you? I don't think so, Kate said. But William, what if they have records that implicate all the couriers? What if the police come for me next? William realized that their situation had become even more dangerous. If he'd been arrested, he might try to make a deal with prosecutors by providing information about the couriers who had worked for him. We need to be ready to run, William said. That night they packed emergency bags with cash, identification documents, and essential belongings. They put the bags in the trunk of their car, ready for a quick escape. The next morning, their preparation proved to be wise. William was making coffee when he saw 3 police cars pulling into their driveway. William's hands froze as he watched the police officers step out of their cars. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. This was the moment they had been dreading and expecting in equal measure. Kate, he called softly toward the stairs. They're here. Kate appeared at the top of the staircase, still in her robe. When she saw the expression on William's face, she knew immediately what was happening. She came down the stairs quickly but calmly. How many? She whispered. 6 officers, 3 cars, William replied, watching through the kitchen window. Kate took a deep breath. Do we run? William considered their options quickly. The police were already at their front door, and their car was in the garage. Even if they could get to their emergency bags and escape through the back door, they would be on foot in a residential neighborhood in broad daylight. They would be caught within hours. No, William decided. We stick to our plan. We know nothing about anything illegal. You lost your job and have been doing freelance work. That's our story. Kate nodded, but William could see the terror in her eyes. What if they have evidence? Then we ask for a lawyer and say nothing else, William said. Remember, we don't know what they know. The doorbell rang. William and Kate looked at each other for one last moment. William reached over and squeezed Kate's hand. We'll get through this, he whispered. Kate squeezed back. I love you. I love you too. William walked to the front door and opened it. On the doorstep stood a woman in her 40s wearing a gray suit. Behind her were 5 uniformed police officers. William, the woman asked. Yes. I'm Detective Sarah. We need to speak with you and your wife about an ongoing investigation. William tried to keep his voice steady. What kind of investigation? May we come in? Detective asked politely but firmly. William knew he couldn't refuse without looking suspicious. Of course. He led the detective and 2 of the officers into the living room. The other officers remained outside, probably to prevent anyone from leaving through the back door. Kate came into the room having quickly dressed in jeans and a sweater. She looked nervous but composed. "Mrs. Detective said, please have a seat." They all sat down in the living room. The two uniformed officers positioned themselves near the doorways. William noticed that neither he nor Kate was being handcuffed or read their rights, which was encouraging. "We're investigating a criminal organization that has been operating in this city for several months," Detective began. "We have reason to believe that Mrs. may have information relevant to our investigation." Kate looked genuinely surprised. William was impressed by her acting ability. "I'm sorry, but I don't understand," Kate said. "What kind of criminal organization?" Detective studied Kate's face carefully. "An organization involved in money laundering, fraud, and the transportation of illegal materials. The organization used ordinary citizens as couriers to move packages between various locations." Kate's surprise looked completely authentic. "That sounds terrible, but I don't see how I could help you. I work in insurance claims processing." "Actually, Mrs., our records show that you were laid off from your insurance job 5 months ago," Detective said. William felt his stomach drop. They knew about Kate's job loss, which meant they had done significant research into her background. Kate hesitated for just a moment before responding. "You're right, I was laid off. I guess I'm still not comfortable talking about it." "What have you been doing for work since then?" Detective asked. "Freelance projects mostly," Kate said. "Data entry, some bookkeeping for small businesses. It's been difficult to find steady employment." Detective nodded sympathetically. "That must have been stressful for your family financially." "We've managed," William interjected. "I work in software development and we had some savings." Detective turned her attention to William. "Mister, are you familiar with a man named?" William tried to look thoughtful while his mind raced. They were asking about by name, which meant they had definitely arrested him and probably had him in custody. "No," William said. "I don't think I know anyone by that name." Mrs. Detective asked. "No, I don't know anyone named either," Kate said. Detective pulled out a photograph and showed it to Kate. It was a picture of taken during what looked like a police booking. "Are you certain you've never seen this man?" Detective asked. Kate studied the photograph carefully, as if she was genuinely trying to remember. "No, I'm sorry, he doesn't look familiar." William was amazed at how convincing Kate sounded. If he hadn't known the truth, he would have believed her completely. Detective put the photograph away and pulled out a tablet computer. She scrolled through some information and then looked back at Kate. "Mrs., we have bank records showing several large cash deposits into your account over the past 4 months," Detective said. "Can you explain where that money came from?" This was the moment William had been most worried about. The cash deposits were clear evidence that Kate had been receiving payment for something, and it would be difficult to explain them away. Kate took a deep breath. Those deposits were payments for freelance work. "What kind of freelance work pays in cash?" Detective asked. "Small business owners who prefer to pay in cash for tax reasons," Kate said. "I know it's not ideal, but when you're unemployed, you take what you can get." William admired Kate's answer. It was plausible and would be difficult for the police to disprove without extensive investigation. "Can you provide us with the names and contact information for these clients?" Detective asked. Kate looked uncomfortable. "I'd prefer not to get my clients in trouble with the IRS. If they prefer to pay in cash, that's their business decision." Detective made some notes on her tablet. "Mrs., I need to be direct with you. We have surveillance footage of you at several locations that are connected to criminal organization." William felt the blood drain from his face. Surveillance footage was exactly what they had hoped didn't exist. Kate looked genuinely shocked. "I'm sorry, but that's impossible. I've never heard of this person, and I've never been involved in any criminal activity." "The footage shows you receiving packages from associates of Mr. and delivering those packages to various locations around the city," Detective continued. "That can't be right," Kate said. "Maybe you have me confused with someone else." Detective pulled up something on her tablet and turned the screen toward Kate. "This is you, Mrs., taken 3 weeks ago outside a warehouse on Industrial Boulevard." William couldn't see the screen, but he watched Kate's face as she looked at it. Kate managed to maintain her confused expression. I've never been to Industrial Boulevard, Kate said. Are you sure this picture is of me? Maybe it's someone who looks like me. Detective turned the tablet back toward herself. Mrs., the evidence against you is substantial. We have video surveillance, financial records, and testimony from other individuals involved in this organization. The mention of testimony made William's heart sink. If other couriers were talking to police, it would be very difficult for Kate to maintain her denials. I think you may have the wrong person, Kate said firmly. I understand that you're investigating serious crimes, but I've never been involved in anything illegal. Detective stood up. Mrs., I'm going to be honest with you. We know you worked as a courier for this organization. We have evidence that proves it beyond any reasonable doubt. Kate looked at William, and he could see the desperation in her eyes. They both knew that their denials were becoming less credible with each piece of evidence Detective presented. However, Detective continued, we also believe that you and the other couriers were victims of this organization as much as you were participants. This was unexpected. William and Kate had assumed that if Kate was caught, she would be treated as a criminal. The possibility that police might view her as a victim had never occurred to them. I don't understand, Kate said. Detective sat back down. Mr.'s organization targeted unemployed individuals who were financially desperate. They offered what seemed like legitimate work, then gradually involved these individuals in criminal activities. Once people were involved, the organization used threats and intimidation to prevent them from leaving. Kate remained silent, but William could see she was thinking carefully about what to say. If you were involved with this organization, Detective continued, we want to help you, not prosecute you. But we need your cooperation to ensure that everyone responsible for these crimes is held accountable. William realized this was the opportunity they had been hoping for. The police were offering Kate a chance to cooperate rather than face prosecution. What exactly are you asking me to do? Kate said quietly. We're asking you to tell us the truth about your involvement with this organization, Detective said. In exchange for your cooperation, we would be willing to grant you immunity from prosecution. Kate looked at William again. He nodded slightly, encouraging her to consider the offer. If I were hypothetically involved in something like this, Kate said carefully, what would cooperation involve? Testimony about how you were recruited, what you were asked to do, how the organization operated, Detective explained. We would also need you to provide details about other individuals you encountered while working for the organization. Kate was quiet for a long moment. And you're certain that I wouldn't face any criminal charges? As long as you provide complete and truthful cooperation, you would receive full immunity, Detective confirmed. William could see Kate making her decision. The offer of immunity was more than they had dared hope for. I need to talk to my husband privately before I say anything else, Kate said. Detective nodded. Of course, take your time. The detective and the two officers stepped outside, leaving William and Kate alone in the living room. What do you think? Kate whispered. I think this is our best option, William whispered back. But we need to be careful about what you tell them. What do you mean? Don't mention anything about me following you or breaking into this office, William said. As far as they know, I had no idea what you were doing until right now. Kate nodded. What about the anonymous tips we sent? Don't mention those either, William said. Let them think their investigation was completely independent. They discussed the details of Kate's story for a few more minutes. Kate would admit to working as a courier, but emphasized that she had been deceived about the nature of the work and threatened when she tried to quit. Kate called Detective back into the house. I'm ready to talk, Kate announced. Detective took out a digital recorder and placed it on the coffee table. Mrs., do you agree to have this conversation recorded? Yes, Kate said. Please state your full name for the record. Elizabeth. And you understand that anything you say during this interview may be used as evidence in legal proceedings. I understand. Detective started the recorder. Mrs., please tell us about your relationship with and his organization. Kate took a deep breath and began telling her story. She explained how she had lost her job and become desperate for income. She described meeting at the coffee shop and being recruited for what she thought was legitimate courier work. William listened as Kate described her first few deliveries, and how she had gradually realized that the work was probably illegal. She explained how she had tried to quit but was threatened by. He told me about another courier who had tried to leave, Kate said. A woman named Lisa. He said she had been in a car accident and that her husband had lost his job. He made it clear that similar things could happen to me and my family if I didn't continue working. Detective asked detailed questions about the organization's operations. Kate described the warehouse where she met, the types of packages she delivered, and the locations where she made deliveries. How many other couriers did you encounter? Detective asked. I met 3 or 4 other people who seemed to be doing the same kind of work, Kate said, but discouraged us from talking to each other about the details of our jobs. Can you describe these individuals? Kate provided descriptions of the other couriers she had met. William hoped that these people would also be offered immunity deals rather than being prosecuted as criminals. The interview continued for over an hour. Detective asked about financial arrangements, communication methods, and security procedures. Kate answered everything as honestly as she could while being careful not to implicate William in any criminal activity. Finally, Detective turned off the recorder. Mrs., thank you for your cooperation, Detective said. Based on what you've told us, I believe we can proceed with the immunity agreement we discussed. What happens next? Kate asked. We'll need you to sign a formal cooperation agreement, Detective explained. You may also be called to testify if this case goes to trial. When will I know if I need to testify? Probably not for several months, Detective said. These cases take time to build, and we're still gathering evidence against other members of the organization. Kate looked relieved. So I'm free to go, I'm not under arrest. You're not under arrest, Detective confirmed. However, we do need you to remain available. Don't leave town without notifying us first. After the police left, William and Kate sat in their living room in stunned silence. I can't believe that worked, Kate said finally. It worked because you were smart about how you told the story, William said. You managed to be honest without implicating yourself in anything that couldn't be explained by coercion. Kate leaned against William, exhausted by the stress of the interview. Do you think it's really over? I think the worst part is over, William said. But we still need to be careful until and his people are convicted. What do you mean? This organization might still have people on the outside, William explained. If they think you cooperated with police, they might try to retaliate. Kate pulled away and looked at William with alarm. You think we're still in danger? I think we need to stay alert, William said. At least until we know that everyone involved in the organization has been arrested. Over the next few days, William and Kate tried to return to normal life. Kate began looking for legitimate employment, and William continued his software development work, but both of them remained nervous and watchful. A week after the police interview, Detective called Kate with an update. We've made significant progress in dismantling the organization, Detective reported. We've arrested 12 individuals, including and several of his associates. What about the other couriers? Kate asked. Most of them are cooperating with our investigation, Detective said. Like you, they'll receive immunity in exchange for their testimony. Kate felt relieved that the other people who had been trapped in the organization would also avoid prosecution. Is there anything else I need to do right now? Kate asked. Not at the moment, Detective said. We'll contact you if we need additional information or when we're ready to schedule testimony for trial proceedings. After hanging up with Detective, Kate shared the update with William. 12 arrests, William said. That sounds like they got most of the organization. I hope so, Kate said. I want this to be completely over. But their relief was premature. 2 days later, William was working from home when he noticed a familiar car parked across the street from their house. It was the same dark sedan that had them weeks earlier. William watched the car for several minutes. Unlike before, he could see the driver clearly. It was not someone he recognized, but the man was definitely watching their house. William called Kate at the temporary job she had found. They're watching the house again, he told her. Kate was quiet for a moment. Maybe it's police surveillance, protection. Maybe, William said, but I don't think we should take any chances. They had kept their emergency bags packed, just in case. William decided it was time to use them. Don't come home, William told Kate. Meet me at the mall food court in an hour. Are we running? Kate asked. We're being careful, William said. If it's police protection, they'll understand why we're nervous. If it's not police, then we need to get out of here. William gathered their emergency bags and left the house through the back door. He made his way through several backyards before emerging on a street 2 blocks away where he had parked Kate's car as a precaution. He drove to the mall, constantly checking his mirrors to see if he was being followed. He didn't see any obvious surveillance, but that didn't mean it wasn't there. Kate was waiting in the food court when William arrived. She looked scared but determined. What's the plan? She asked. We're going to a hotel for the night, William said. Tomorrow, we'll call detective and find out if the police have us under surveillance. They checked into a hotel on the other side of the city, paying cash and using fake names. William had obtained false identification documents months earlier, just in case they needed to disappear completely. That evening, they watched the local news, hopping for information about organization. The lead story was about the arrest of a major criminal network involved in money laundering and fraud. Police report that they have arrested 12 individuals connected to an organization that used ordinary citizens as unwilling couriers for illegal activities, the news anchor reported. The report showed footage of being led away in handcuffs. It also showed the warehouse where Kate had met with, now surrounded by police tape. However, police warn that some members of the organization may still be at large, the anchor continued. Citizens are advised to report any suspicious activity to law enforcement. William and Kate looked at each other with concern. If some organization members were still free, the surveillance of their house might not have been police protection. The next morning, William called detective from at a gas station. Detective, this is William. We need to talk. Is everything all right? Detective asked. We've noticed surveillance of our house, William explained. We're not sure if it's police protection or something else. Detective was quiet for a moment. Mister, we don't have any officers watching your house. William felt a chill run down his spine. Then who was watching us? We're not sure, Detective admitted. We did arrest most of the organization, but we believe there may be a few individuals who escaped our initial sweep. Are we in danger? William asked. It's possible, Detective said honestly. Where are you now? William gave Detective the location of the gas station. Stay there, Detective said. I'm sending officers to pick you up. 20 minutes later, 2 police cars arrived at the gas station. William and Kate were escorted to the police station, where Detective was waiting for them. I'm sorry we didn't warn you about this possibility, Detective said. We've been trying to locate the remaining members of the organization, but they've been careful to avoid detection. What does this mean for us? Kate asked. It means you may need protection until we can arrest everyone involved, Detective explained. What kind of protection? William asked. Witness protection, Detective said. New identities, relocation to a different city, ongoing security monitoring. William and Kate stared at each other. This was exactly what they had hoped to avoid, but it seemed like their only option for staying safe. How long would this last? Kate asked. Until we're certain that all threats have been eliminated, Detective said. It could be months or it could be years. The decision would change their lives completely. They would have to leave behind everything they had built together, start over in a new place with new names, and live with the constant awareness that dangerous people might be looking for them. But the alternative might be worse. If members of this organization were actively hunting for Kate because of her cooperation with police, staying in their current life could be fatal. We need time to think about this, William said. Of course, Detective said, but I should tell you that we've arranged for you to stay in a safe house while you make your decision. It's not safe for you to return home or to stay in public accommodations. A few hours later, William and Kate found themselves in a small apartment in an undisclosed location, guarded by federal agents around the clock. Their life as they had known it was over. The question now was what kind of new life they would choose to begin. The safe house was a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a nondescript building on the outskirts of the city. The windows were covered with thick curtains that were never opened, and federal agents were stationed outside 24 hours a day. William and Kate had been there for 3 days, and the isolation was already beginning to wear on both of them. "I feel like a prisoner," Kate said, packing around the small living room for the 100th time that morning. William looked up from the newspaper he was pretending to read. The same thoughts had been running through his mind constantly since they arrived at the safe house. They were protected, but they were also trapped. "It's temporary," William said, though he wasn't sure he believed it himself. Kate sat down on the couch next to him. "Is it, though? Detectives said it could be years before they catch everyone from this organization." "Maybe," William admitted, "but what's the alternative if we leave here and those people find us?" Kate didn't need him to finish the sentence. They both knew what happened to people who betrayed criminal organizations. The threat was real, even if it felt abstract in the safety of their protected apartment. A knock at the door interrupted their conversation. William looked through the peephole and saw Agent Martinez, the federal agent who had been their primary contact since entering protection. "Good morning," Agent Martinez said as William opened the door. "I have some updates from Detective." Kate joined them at the small dining table, where Agent Martinez spread out some photographs. "We've identified 2 more members of this organization who are still at large," Agent Martinez explained. "And Jennifer Santos. Both of them were higher up in the organization's hierarchy." William studied the photographs. Was a man in his 50s with gray hair and cold eyes. Jennifer Santos was younger, maybe 35, with sharp features and an intense expression. "These are the people who might be looking for us?" Kate asked. "It's possible," Agent Martinez said. "We intercepted communications suggesting that the organization is trying to eliminate potential witnesses before the trial begins." Kate's face went pale. "They want to kill us." "They want to prevent you from testifying," Agent Martinez clarified. "Whether that means killing you or simply intimidating you into silence, we don't know." William felt anger building inside him. Kate had already been through so much, and now she was facing death threats because she had done the right thing by cooperating with police. "How close are you to catching these people?" William asked. "We're making progress," Agent Martinez said. "But they're experienced criminals who know how to avoid detection. It may take some time." "What about witness protection?" Kate asked. "Have you made a decision about whether you can offer that to us?" Agent Martinez nodded. "The Witness Protection Program has approved your application. If you choose to enter the program, you would be relocated to a different part of the country with new identities and ongoing security support." William and Kate had been discussing this possibility for the past 3 days. The idea of starting completely over was both terrifying and appealing. "What would that mean exactly?" William asked. "New names, new social security numbers, new employment history," Agent Martinez explained. "You would be given documentation that supports your new identities, and you would be relocated to a community where the program has established support networks." "What about our families?" Kate asked. "Would we ever be able to see our parents or siblings again?" "Not under your current identities," Agent Martinez said. "And contact would have to be very carefully managed and monitored. Many people in witness protection find it easier to make a clean break from their previous lives." The thought of never seeing their families again was devastating. William's parents lived across the country, but they spoke regularly by phone. Kate's sister lived in the next state and visited several times a year. "You don't have to decide right now," Agent Martinez continued. "But I should tell you that the longer you wait, the more difficult it becomes to establish secure new identities." After Agent Martinez left, William and Kate spent the rest of the day discussing their options. The conversation was painful because every choice seemed to involve enormous sacrifices. "If we enter witness protection, we lose everyone and everything we've ever known," Kate said. "But if we don't, we might lose our lives." William had been thinking about the same dilemma. Maybe there's a third option. "What do you mean?" "What if we relocate temporarily, just until and Jennifer Santos are caught?" William suggested. "We could move to a different state, change our names informally, and start over. But we wouldn't have to do it permanently through the federal program." Kate considered this idea. "Do you think we could really stay hidden on our own?" "We've learned a lot about this kind of thing over the past few months," William said. "We know how to use cash, how to avoid surveillance, how to create false identities. If we're careful, we might be able to disappear without government assistance." The advantage of this approach was that they would maintain the option of returning to their normal lives once the threat was eliminated. The disadvantage was that they wouldn't have federal protection if they were discovered. "It's risky," Kate said. "Everything is risky at this point," William replied. That evening, they called Detective to discuss their options. "I understand your reluctance to enter formal witness protection," Detective said, "but I have to warn you that attempting to hide on your own is extremely dangerous." "How dangerous?" William asked. "And Jennifer Santos are not ordinary criminals," Detective explained. "They have resources, connections, and experience in tracking people who try to disappear. If they decide to look for you, they will probably find you eventually." "What if we helped with the investigation?" Kate suggested. "What if I worked with you to help catch these people? Would that end the threat faster than just hiding?" Detective was quiet for a moment. "What exactly are you proposing?" "I could act as bait," Kate said. "If and Jennifer Santos are looking for me, maybe I could help you catch them." "Absolutely not," William said immediately. "That's way too dangerous." "It might be our only chance to end this quickly," Kate argued. "If I stay in hiding for months or years, I'll never have a normal life again anyway." Detective's voice was concerned. "Mrs., using witnesses as bait is extremely risky. We would never ask you to put yourself in that kind of danger." "But if I volunteered," Kate pressed, "if I wanted to help end this." "We would have to consider it very carefully," Detective admitted, "but the risks would be enormous." William was adamantly against the idea, but he could see the logic in Kate's thinking. If and Jennifer Santos were captured, the threat would end immediately. Kate could testify against organization without fear, and they could return to their normal lives. "What would something like that involve?" William asked reluctantly. "Controlled exposure," Detective explained. "We would allow Mrs. to be seen in public in a way that might attract the attention of Santos. Then we would have undercover officers positioned to arrest them when they made contact." "And if something went wrong?" William asked. "That's why we would never recommend this approach," Detective said. "If Santos realized it was a trap, or if they decided to take violent action immediately instead of trying to intimidate Mrs., the results could be fatal." Kate was quiet for several minutes, clearly thinking through the options. "I want to do it," she said finally. "Kate, no," William said firmly. "William, think about it," Kate said. "We can spend years in witness protection, never seeing our families again, always looking over our shoulders, or I can take a calculated risk to end this now." "What if they kill you?" William asked. "What if they kill us both in 5 years when we least expect it?" Kate countered. "At least this way we have control over the situation." The debate continued for the next hour. William understood Kate's reasoning, but the thought of deliberately putting her in danger was unbearable. Finally, Detective interrupted their argument. "I think you both need more time to think about this. These are life-altering decisions that shouldn't be made quickly." "How much time do we have?" Kate asked. "A few days," Detective said, "but not much longer. Every day you stay in the safe house increases the risk that your location will be discovered." That night, William lay awake staring at the ceiling while Kate slept beside him. He tried to imagine their life in witness protection. New names, new city, new jobs, new friends. It would be like death and rebirth at the same time. But he also tried to imagine Kate deliberately putting herself in danger to lure and Jennifer Santos into a trap. That scenario was even more terrifying. The next morning, Agent Martinez arrived with more troubling news. "We've intercepted communications indicating that Santos are actively searching for you," Agent Martinez reported. "They've been questioning people in your neighborhood and asking about your whereabouts." "Have they found anything?" William asked. "Not yet," Agent Martinez said. "Your neighbors have been told to report any suspicious inquiries to police, but it's only a matter of time before Santos realize you're in protective custody." "What happens then?" Kate asked. "They'll probably assume you're cooperating with law enforcement," Agent Martinez said. "That might make them more desperate to find you." William realized that time was running out for making a decision. Every day they waited, their options became more limited. "Agent Martinez," Kate said, "Detective mentioned the possibility of using me as bait to catch Santos. What's your opinion of that plan?" Agent Martinez looked uncomfortable. It's not something I would recommend. The risks are too high. But it's been done before, Kate pressed. In certain circumstances, Agent Martinez admitted. Usually with experienced undercover operatives, not civilian witnesses. Kate nodded thoughtfully. What would make it safer? Extensive preparation, multiple layers of protection, careful control of the environment, Agent Martinez said. But even with all of those precautions, there would still be significant risk. After Agent Martinez left, Kate turned to William. I've made my decision. Kate, please think about this more carefully, William said. I have been thinking about it, Kate replied. William, I can't live the rest of my life in hiding. I can't ask you to give up everything because of my mistakes. They weren't just your mistakes, William said. We're in this together. But I'm the one who got involved with this organization, Kate said. I'm the one who put us in danger. I should be the one who fixes it. William could see that Kate's mind was made up. He also realized that she was probably right about their options being limited. If you're going to do this, William said, I want to be involved in the planning. I want to make sure every possible precaution is taken. Kate smiled for the first time in days. Does that mean you'll support my decision? It means I love you and I